All of a sudden, we heard this huge boom. And I looked at her and said, what's happening? Is there a 747 landing in the valley? And we ran to the window, and I saw something going like this. And I thought, what the? And I turned this way, and there was a wall of mud coming toward us. We didn't have any time to do anything. I basically said, okay, Creator, if you want me, here I am. Because the water was still coming in, the mud was still coming in. My house had been destroyed. There was no roof. A whole tree had landed on Yeti, my friend who was with me. We had to get that tree off of her. She had to get it off. I couldn't reach her. And she thought her legs were broken, but I told her she had to drag herself if necessary, otherwise she was going to die, right? So we got her up on the refrigerator, and I think I was on the washer or dryer or something. But the water was still coming in. And the land rescuers, I had asked them to go out to Mark first because he was screaming that his arm was almost torn off. Yeah. And they had to put down boards for them to be able to get out. Sheila almost drowned in that. The mud was up to here, yeah? And if the helicopters hadn't come, I don't know what would have happened to us, okay? But the helicopters did come, and when we saw them, it was like, oh my God, we're gonna be okay. The only reason I could grab that is because it floated up by us. There wasn't anything else that was available. I went to New York. Katie Couric wanted me on her show. And right after they interviewed me, they put this guy on who his business is teaching people how to have a go bag, right? A go bag wouldn't have done me a damn bit of good, pardon my French. It would have been under the mud and water too. There was nothing I could take except that painting.
Did you take that as a sign that it floated right up there?
Yeah. Yeah, I told Yeti, the painting kind of floated up between us, and I told her, okay, look at his eyes. He's telling us that we're going to be saved. It'll be all right. I couldn't carry it up with me, but I told him it's very important to me. It's a Cherokee night warrior, and his eyes told me that we would be rescued. It actually took me years to clean the mud off that painting because it symbolized for me everything that had happened.
So you left it on there purposely?
Yeah. My kids wouldn't even let me clean it off, even when I wanted to. So it stayed on there for, well, till we moved here.
How did you come by the painting?
It was a gift from a native artist Jim Nelson, who painted it in the 90s. At that particular point in time, I was making some crafts that were being sold in stores in Kirkland and in Seattle and so forth. And he was showing some of his art in some of those same stores. And I really liked that painting, and he gave it to me. Because the trauma was so deep. I'm the kind of person who, There's been a number of different things in my life that have been emergency kind of situations. And I react like a first responder. It's, okay, let's see what needs to happen, get it done, and then I'll worry about what I'm feeling, right? So while Yeti was over there, I'm thinking, okay, how do we get out of here? Oh, there's the helicopters. Get something to wave at them so that they see us. Yeah. And I didn't realize until much later how deep that trauma went into me. I have been a teacher for sharing multicultural things around the world. That actually started after the mudslide. I'd done a few things before, but after the mudslide, it was kind of my salvation to be traveling for a long time. And during those ceremonies, the teachings, etc., sometimes something would come up about the slide and I'd process it then, okay? And then later, here, when I first moved here, so about 2 years ago, a military plane broke the sound barrier. I was in the kitchen. The cats were with me. The floor shook. The cats went zoom. And my first response was to look out the window, because there's a hill up there, and ask myself, is that hill coming down?
It'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the location. It's very beautiful here, but given what you've been through, I couldn't help but notice driving up, you are in the hills. Does that give you pause sometimes?
Sure. And I told you this, my son's response to the whole mudslide, I was down in the valley by the river, right? He said, Mom, next time, live up the mountain. That way, if something happens, you can slide down. That's kind of an Indian response. We handle trauma, crises, multi-generational stuff by being humorous. My cousin came to me 3 days after the slide, gave me a great big huge bear hug, and whispered in my ear, must have been a hell of a ride. Okay? I didn't know whether to slug him or to laugh. So I kind of did both. But that's how we get through some of that. And we've been doing it for generations. Basically, I've spent the last 10 years trying to find safety again. I have friends here in North Carolina, and I walked in and saw this house and this sunroom and said, oh my God, I could just live in the sunroom. To heck with the rest of the house, right? So I love it, and I love the forest and the mountains and everything that's here, and it's not home. I've been here for, well, I guess about 3 years now in North Carolina, and it just doesn't feel like home. I miss the cedar trees. I miss the giant firs we had. The oso tree was on the edge of our property, and it was a 120-foot grand fir. Yeah. The rivers here are about that deep. You know what the rivers are like at home. I miss that.